So, what's up? You must have come here to talk about something, right? The bar owner, Mark, skillfully prepared and served some snacks. Actually, I got this from my daughter, Emily. I took a white envelope out of my bag and handed it to Mark. Emily, oh, I see. You've met Emily then. Mark smiled as he took the envelope. No, I haven't seen or contacted Samantha or Emily for 21 years. I haven't even told them where I moved to, but this arrived 3 days ago. Mark was surprised as he looked inside the envelope. This is an invitation of wedding. I nodded solemnly. After divorcing Samantha, I immediately moved to a small apartment. Of course, I didn't tell Samantha where I was moving to. Why did Emily send me an invitation? It's obvious, she wants to invite you, Jason. But I was a father who couldn't even properly celebrate her birthdays. Still, Emily took the courage to send you an invitation. I don't know how she found out your address, but she probably wants her dad to celebrate her big day with her. Mark's words touched my heart, and I felt tears welling up. Encouraged by Mark, I decided to meet my daughter for the first time in 21 years. My name is Jason. I married Samantha at 25, and a year later, our daughter Emily was born. Kids are really adorable, aren't they? I wish we could always laugh and spend time together as a family. Becoming a father made me feel the responsibility of parenthood. After graduating from high school, I worked as a carpenter for 10 years, but I started to think that I needed to earn more. We were poor in a single-parent family, and I didn't want my child to go through the same hardships. Also, my mother was in debt, so I wanted to pay off her debts and give her some comfort for raising me on her own. After much deliberation, I switched to a long-haul truck driver job, which paid better. Being a long-haul truck driver meant being away from home for 3 or 4 days at a time, but back then, I kept working hard, thinking only of my family's happiness. However, it seems that wasn't the kind of happiness Samantha had envisioned. Welcome back. Yesterday, Emily was. After a long absence from home, Samantha happily talked to me about Emily. But back then, I couldn't understand Samantha's feelings at all. Look, I'm working for the family, so let me rest when I'm home. I'll listen to you when I wake up. I would head straight to the bedroom upon returning home. Without any malice, I said such things to Samantha, who was taking care of little Emily all by herself. I'm sorry. I can forget the look of sadness on Samantha's face as she apologized. I wish she had just lashed out at me then. Maybe then, I could have understood Samantha's feelings. But I knew better than anyone that Samantha wasn't that kind of person. She never spoke ill of others. She always prioritized the feelings of those around her over her own. Somehow, I had cornered the kind-hearted Samantha without realizing it. You don't have work this Saturday, right? One day, Samantha timidly asked. I have work. I'm leaving on Friday and coming back on Monday. Why? Is something happening on Saturday? Hearing my words, Samantha looked down. It's Emily's 4th birthday. After Samantha's reminder, I finally realized that this Saturday was Emily's birthday. I'm sorry. Let's go buy something Emily wants together in next week. You were working last year and the year before too, right? Huh? Samantha glared at me, her eyes brimming with tears. You promised Emily last year that you'd definitely celebrate her 4th birthday together. I couldn't say anything for a while as Samantha yelled, tears streaming down her face. But it's not like I was out playing. I just didn't want her to go through the misery of not having enough money. That's why I'm working so hard. I understood what Samantha wanted to say, but I got a bit irritated at that moment. I'm sorry, but I have to work. I'm working for the family. I'm sorry too. Saying that, Samantha wiped her tears and fled to the bedroom. Good morning. The next morning, seeing Samantha act as usual made me feel relieved. She must have understood. That's what I thought. And on Friday morning, I greeted Emily as usual. Emily, Daddy will be back on Monday. Make sure you listen to Mommy, okay? If I brought up her birthday, it would remind her of the promise and things could get out of hand. So I deliberately didn't mention her birthday. Bye, Daddy. Emily smiled innocently as usual. When I get back, I'll make sure to say happy birthday properly. I'll buy her something she likes. Convinced that working for my family was my mission, I left the house as usual. Little did I know, this would be my last memory of Emily. On Monday, I returned home with a dolphin plushie Emily liked. I bought it impulsively at a souvenir shop on the highway. I'm home. Shocked by the empty, dark interior, I was stunned. Samantha and Emily, along with their belongings, were all gone. In their place was a divorce paper and a note on the table. I've lost the meaning of being a family with you. I will raise Emily by myself. The note mentioned that Samantha's parents were furious and insisted I never visit their home. I just collapsed there, feeling drained. What I'm doing? I have completely failed to understand Samantha's feelings. Only regrets rushed in. Despite the note warning me not to come, I drove 3 hours to my in-laws' house in a hurry. As expected, my in-laws turned me away, not letting me see Samantha or Emily. That's why we were against your marriage. Look at how worn out Samantha is. You probably don't know, but she's been seeing a psychiatrist. I had no idea about any of this. Samantha never mentioned. My mother-in-law sharply rebuked me as I tried to explain I hadn't heard any of this before. You never listened. You're hardly ever home, and when you are, you go straight to your bedroom. Never show your face to us again. I couldn't argue any further. Samantha was an only child, cherished and raised carefully by her parents. Her father worked for a major company and intended to marry Samantha off to someone well-raised and from a good background. Then there was me, with less education. Being from a single-parent family and poor, with not a great income, my in-laws were always against my marriage to Samantha. Yet, I went to persuade them time and again. I will definitely make Samantha happy. I won't let you regret this. Please believe in me and let me marry Samantha. In the end, my in-laws relented and agreed to our marriage. So, causing Samantha sadness and even driving her to the point of needing medical attention was unforgivable. Samantha and Emily are our responsibility now, so don't you ever come back. That's the only thing you can do for them. With the door slammed shut, I had no choice but to hang my head in defeat. As my father-in-law said, all I could do now was accept the divorce and disappear from their lives. What followed is a blur. A few days later, I received a business-like email from Samantha. I've filed the papers. No reply necessary, and just like that, Samantha, Emily, and I became strangers to each other. Time passed, and it's been 21 years since the divorce. Now, I find myself in front of a bar. The sign out front reads closed today. Every Wednesday is a regular holiday, right? As I turn to leave, disheartened, "Hey, is that you, Jason?" I was unexpectedly greeted by Mark, the bar owner, who happened to come out. It's been a long time. It really has. Come in. But, isn't it your day off today? It's my day off, so we can talk freely, just the two of us. Mark invited me in with his warm smile. Sitting at the counter, Mark quickly served up a beer. "You look well. Here's to a long-awaited reunion." His kind voice filled the quiet bar. "You haven't been changed a bit." I found comfort in the unchanged interior of the bar. Has it been 10 years? No, 20 years. It's been 21 years. I'm sorry I couldn't show my face around here. I apologized to Mark. So much time has passed. I'm really glad to see you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. Back when I was a carpenter, I used to come here often, brought by my seniors. Eventually, I started coming here on my own, and Mark listened to all sorts of my stories. To me, without a father, Mark, who was 20 years my senior, was like a father figure. So, what's wrong? You have something to talk about, right? Mark skillfully prepared some snacks and served them. Actually, I received this from Emily. I took out a white envelope from my bag and handed it to Mark. Emily, oh, I see. You've met Emily then. Mark smiled as he took the envelope. No, I haven't seen or been in touch with Samantha or Emily in 21 years. I didn't even tell them my new address, but this arrived 3 days ago. Mark was surprised as he looked inside the envelope. Is this a wedding invitation? I nodded in affirmation. After the divorce, I immediately moved to a small apartment. Of course, I didn't tell Samantha my new address. I had no desire to work, shocked as I was, but I pushed myself to keep going until I had paid off my mother's debts. I managed to pay off the debt in 5 years. With the debt repaid, I thought about switching to a job that was easier on my body, but I felt that no company would want someone with low education like me, so I ended up continuing my job as a long-haul truck driver. How do you think why Emily sent me an invitation? It's obvious, she wants to invite you, Jason. But I was such a father who couldn't even properly celebrate her birthdays. If I show up at the wedding, Samantha and her parents will surely be furious. I suppose Samantha, being kind, she wouldn't speak ill of me to Emily. Emily was too young back then to understand my shortcomings. Even if Emily doesn't think poorly of me and might even want to see me, I believe that Samantha and her parents still hadn't forgiven me. But Emily mustered up the courage to send you an invitation, Jason. I don't know how she found your address, but she probably wants her dad to celebrate her big day with her, I'm sure. Mark's words deeply resonated with me, and I felt tears welling up. By the way, Jason, do you have a new family now? Mark asked hesitantly. No way. My mother passed away 6 months ago, and I'm truly alone now. Being alone is lonely, but the only ones I love are Samantha and Emily. I believe living in a way that doesn't embarrass them is the least I can do to atone for my sins. My mother had often encouraged me to remarry. She must have been terribly worried about me being alone after she was gone. But I stubbornly refused. I couldn't fathom walking for life with anyone other than Samantha and Emily. Jason, you've been head over heels for Samantha since the day you met her. Mark reminisced with a nostalgic smile. I met Samantha right here in this bar. It was when I was 24. As usual, I came here with my seniors. That day, there happened to be a group of smartly dressed people sitting at the next table. Among them, Samantha was laughing modestly. She's cute, I thought, but given how she was dressed, she seemed to be from a different world than mine. That was my first impression of Samantha. At that time, I didn't pay special attention and just enjoyed my drinks with the seniors. However, maybe because I drank on an empty stomach that day, I got drunk quickly. Laughing foolishly, I accidentally knocked over a beer bottle, spilling it everywhere. Samantha, when I spilled that beer, she immediately handed me a wet towel from the next table. I felt a pang in my heart, remembering that first encounter after so long. Jason, you fell for her instantly. It was obvious to anyone watching. I felt embarrassed when Mark pointed it out, but it was true. Samantha, kind-hearted, immediately helped out with the mishap at the neighboring table. Are you okay? Drinking too much isn't good for you. Samantha looked at me, a stranger, with concern. I was smitten. I'm sorry, thank you. I'll make sure this never happens again. Sobriety hit me instantly, and Samantha laughed seeing my solemn face. Yes, please take care of yourself, for your own sake and your family's. For myself and my family's. What a beautiful soul she must be. That single sentence from Samantha made me fall for her hopelessly. Since then, I started visiting the bar alone, hoping to run into Samantha again. I even consulted with Mark and had him secretly inform me when Samantha visited the bar. This way, I orchestrated chance meetings and gradually closed the distance between us. I was upfront with Samantha from the start. Of course, I wanted to date Samantha, but I felt we were from different worlds, so I wanted her to reject me quickly if it wasn't going to work out. However, Samantha didn't seem to mind that I was a high school graduate, a carpenter, or from a single-parent family. On the contrary, she respected me genuinely, saying, "You've been independent since a young age, being a 6-year senior in the workforce at our age, and you care so much for your mother, which is admirable." My affection for the pure-hearted Samantha grew even more, and I eventually confessed to her. Samantha shyly accepted. When we started dating, the day after I proposed, and when Emily was born, you came to greet me each time. Well, Mark, you've been like a father to me. By the way, when Emily was born, you made some kind of declaration, right? What was it again? Silently, I pulled out a bank statement from my bag, unfolded it, and showed it to Mark. "Oh, that's right. This is from you, Jason." Mark's eyes widened in surprise, and I silently nodded in response. Mark let out a long sigh and looked at me with a gentle gaze. "Jason, it seems you've already made your decision. Go and share your feelings properly. God has given you this chance to meet, so take it." Mark sat next to me, putting his arm around my shoulders. Continuing, he said, "I've always thought of you like a son, Jason. So, I want you to be happy. 21 years is more than enough time to reflect on yourself, not just for you but for Samantha and her parents as well. Everyone has changed since that day. Nobody remains the same." Tears started to stream down my face. But, what if Samantha has remarried? I voiced my lingering concern. It's been 21 years, after all. The possibility was certainly there. Samantha, who was always so kind and adorable. It's unlikely that men around her would just ignore her. And there's a chance she might have remarried someone nice and well-mannered, approved by her father. Would it upset you if Samantha had remarried? It wouldn't upset me. Raising a child alone is hard. If Samantha has remarried and is happy now, that's enough for me, but what if I actually saw her happy with someone else? That was what I feared. I might break down crying. I might run away. In the end, I'm still a weak person. When I shared my fears with Mark, he gently patted my back. "Even if Samantha has remarried, you're still Emily's real father. That's why she invited you. Your feelings for them over these 21 years must have been stronger than anyone else's. So, be confident. Share your current feelings with them properly, and make sure to hand this over." Mark pressed the bank statement back into my hand. Then, he quietly placed the invitation and a pen in front of me. Looking at Mark, he nodded firmly at me. After some hesitation, I made up my mind and took the pen. With a racing heart, I circled "will attend." 2 months later, I'm now standing in front of the wedding venue. For this day, I bought a suit for the first time in my life. I made sure my hair was well groomed and my beard neatly shaved, so Emily wouldn't be embarrassed. But once I got here, my feet just wouldn't move any further. A staff member, perhaps puzzled by my hesitation, approached me. "Do you have an invitation?" "Yes." Tentatively, I showed the envelope containing the invitation. The staff member looked at my name written on the envelope, widened their eyes for a moment, then smiled. "Congratulations on this special day. Emily has told us about you. Please, follow me." Following the staff member, I was led to the bride and groom's waiting room. "Emily asked us to bring you here. Please, come in." "Who are on the other side of this door?" My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might leap out of my chest, but prompted by the staff, I knocked on the door. "Come in, please." I braced myself and opened the door. Emily, thank you for inviting me today." I started to speak the words I had been contemplating for so long, but midway, I choked up and couldn't continue. Emily, now 25, looked just like Samantha did back then. And Emily, clad in her bridal gown, looked so beautiful, like a goddess. I've hardly spent any time with Emily. I was nothing more than a father in name only. Yet, the marriage of my child stirred something deep within me, and I found myself crying before I knew it. "Dad, you came." Emily, seeing me, also had tears in her eyes. The groom, who had been standing beside Emily, came forward to me. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kevin. I apologize for the late introduction. I promise to make Emily happy, without fail." Kevin greeted me with respect. In that moment, I understood the kind of man he was. Emily chose him, so his words must be true. I suddenly remembered how I pleaded with Samantha's parents. "I will make Samantha happy. I promise you that. Please, trust me and let me marry her." Samantha's parents must have trusted me because their daughter chose me. And yet, I betrayed that trust. "Can I have a moment alone with Kevin?" With Emily's permission, Kevin and I stepped outside. "Kevin, I failed at marriage, but I have one request. Please make Emily happy, the way I couldn't. Keep no secrets, and build a happy family together." I implored Kevin. I was open with Samantha about everything, except my mother's debt. I knew her parents would never agree to the marriage if they knew about the debt. But I think it was that secret that led to our downfall. Had I been honest, maybe we wouldn't have married, but at least I wouldn't have hurt Samantha. Or if we had married, we could have worked through it together. I prioritized my happiness by wanting to be with Samantha, and it led to this. It's my biggest regret in life, so please, no secrets between spouses. Kevin nodded firmly. Seeing his honest reaction, I felt reassured. "There's one more thing I need to ask of you." I took out an envelope with the bank statement from my bag and handed it to Kevin. He looked inside, puzzled. Then his eyes widened when he saw the bank statement. $25,000. When Samantha and I divorced 21 years ago, she didn't want any alimony or child support. She probably wanted nothing to do with me. But when Emily was born, I decided to save $10 every month for her future. $10 a month, $120 a year, wasn't much, but it was all I could afford at the time with my mother's debts. After paying off the debt, I was able to save more, and including the wedding gift, the savings amounted to $25,000. Could you use this for Emily's sake? Kevin immediately tried to refuse. "No, please give it to Emily from you. Tell her it's from her dad. It's not too late to convey your feelings." Kevin looked at me intently. "Emily was really looking forward to meeting you. She intended to hand-deliver the invitation. She went all the way to your house. But at the last step, she couldn't muster the courage and ended up leaving it in the mailbox." Looking at the envelope, I noticed it indeed didn't have a postal stamp. Really? But how did Emily know where I lived? Kevin hesitated but then explained. "About a year ago, my mother, accompanied by a nurse, visited Samantha's family home. Kevin was there by chance, brought along by Emily. Seeing my mother, wheelchair-bound and unrecognizable, Samantha and her parents didn't know who she was at first. By then, my mother had been given a terminal diagnosis and was in long-term care. She honestly told Samantha and her family about her debt and that I had taken on the responsibility of paying it off, and she apologized. My whole life, I've only been a burden to Jason. We were poor, I couldn't buy him the toys he wanted, couldn't send him to college. So he worked hard, determined not to let his own child suffer the same fate, even insisted on paying off my debts. He always said he was taking care of his family, and that included me. My mother was crying as she spoke. I still feel so sorry for the trouble I caused you all, but please, if there's one thing I can ask you to acknowledge, it's Jason's kindness. She earnestly pleaded, revealing her short time left and how Jason continued to live cherishing Samantha and Emily. I knew about the debt, Samantha said, kneeling before my mother and gently holding her hand. Did Samantha know about the debt? Yes, it seems so. Kevin continued. She understood you were trying hard for the family, but she wished you had shared everything with her, being family. Samantha said that with a distant look in her eyes. I was young back then, struggling with my first child, feeling cornered. That led to the divorce, but I don't regret divorcing. If we hadn't divorced then, I might have ended up hating Jason. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Jason did nothing wrong. As my mother bowed her head, Samantha said, no, it's because we divorced then that I didn't end up hating Jason. I still care for him. I know he's the kindest person. Hearing this, my mother sobbed. Samantha covered her with a red blanket, saying, thank you for coming all this way. Your visit gave me courage. It might take some time, but I will definitely convey my feelings to Jason. That's when Samantha learned my address from my mother. Come to think of it, my mother started cherishing a red blanket at some point. Who would have thought it was actually something from Samantha? Tears flowed from my eyes as one revelation followed another. Thanks to my mother's actions, I was able to reunite with Emily like this. I was also able to learn about Samantha's feelings. My mother had been acting for me until the end. I clenched the return pass book tightly. Thank you for telling me, Kevin. I'll talk to Emily about this savings myself. Encouraged by Kevin, I hurried back to Emily. Emily. As I opened the dressing room, not only Emily, but also Samantha was there. Samantha. Jason. I had no more doubts. I was determined to express my feelings. With a firm grip, I exclaimed, Samantha, Emily, I'm truly sorry. For 21 years, all I could do was wish for your happiness. I thought I had no right to see you both, but I've always cared for you both more than anyone. Thank you for inviting me today. Thank you so much. My emotions from 21 years poured out. At over 50 years old, my face was a mess of tears. Seeing me like that, Samantha and Emily laughed through their own tears. Jason, you haven't changed. You cried openly like this when I accepted your proposal too. Really, Dad, you're such a crybaby. Listening to their banter, I could sense Emily's growth. Have you been well? Yeah. Not drinking too much? Not at all. Are you cooking for yourself? Mostly store-bought food, but I cook my breakfast every morning. That hasn't changed from before. Samantha and I looked at each other and laughed. We felt the bitter sweetness of the times before we were married. You two seem to be getting along well. Emily made fun of us. You didn't remarry, did you? I tentatively asked Samantha. Remarry? Samantha and Emily exchanged looks and burst into laughter. There's no way Mom would remarry. Even though Grandpa suggested it many times, she always firmly refused. Samantha chuckled softly. For Mom, Dad has always been the most important. Samantha's face turned bright red. Then, somewhat embarrassed, she responded. Yes, well, that's true. I thought about contacting Jason so many times, but I hesitated, thinking what if Jason had a new family? The idea of Mary marrying is absurd. Samantha and Emily have always been most important to me. As we shared our feelings, I moved closer and hugged them tightly. Thank you for coming, Dad. It's a new start from here. A new start. Come on, get changed. Emily pointed to a morning coat prepared for me. Be there as my father, properly. But I haven't really done anything father-like. You've always cared for me more than anyone. That's something only a parent can do. Come on, we don't have much time. Urged by Emily, I proceeded to change. Then, I noticed the bank statement in my hand. Congratulations on your marriage, Emily. Please accept my feelings. As I spoke of the savings, tears welled up in Emily's eyes. The savings that had been accumulated month by month for 25 years. You really have always cared for Emily more than anyone. Samantha was also in tears. Thank you, Dad. I'll use it wisely for the family. Relieved that they accepted it, I felt truly at ease. This was the first time I did something father-like for Emily. I felt a newfound confidence in myself. The wedding proceeded as planned. Having a proper conversation with Samantha's parents, this day brought significant changes to my life. And a week later, here I am, standing in front of Mark's bar. Beside me are Samantha, Emily, and Kevin. Mark, the bar owner, is like a father to me. I always make sure to greet him at every important moment. With that, I energetically opened the bar's door. Welcome. Mark warmly smiled upon seeing us four. Mark, I remarry Samantha. Mark's eyes widened in surprise for a moment. Is that so? Congratulations, and congratulations to you too, Emily and Kevin. Yes, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for all of you to be happy. Mark was moved to tears with joy. We all exchanged smiles. Yes, we're very happy now. This time, we'll spend our days happily as a family.